Okay, so we're going to look at doing some solving quadratics by factorising. So we're going to start with this one. Obviously we're only going to look at, initially in this video, at quadratics where the coefficient of x squared is just 1. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look to put a set of brackets, because all of these, when we're factorising quadratics, will factorise into a set of two brackets. Where we've got an x squared, you are always going to have an x and an x in the front of each bracket, okay, in every single case. Let's have a look at the last term there. So obviously we've got the 24. What we're going to try and do with the 24 is list down all the factor pairs. So factor pairs of 24 would be 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So they're all the pairs that are going to make 24 if I multiply them together. So this end term, we're finding the multiplication factor pairs of 24. Then what we're going to look at is we're going to look at making an addition or subtraction, a calculation where we can make positive 10x out of the factor pairs. So we're looking for positive 10 if I add it or subtract it. Now this one has two addition signs in each one, so there's going to be no negatives in this at all, so all our values are going to be positive. So if I'm looking at this, well, 1 and 24 would be 25, 2 and 12 would be 14, 3 and 8 would be 11, and 4 and 6 is the one I want. 4 and 6 is going to make me 10. So I can put a 4 and a 6 in my sum, in my brackets, and then I'm looking to solve it. Now, because we've got 0 as an answer, that means that these two brackets are multiplied together. So that means that the first bracket, x plus 4, must equal 0, or x plus 6 must equal 0. So that when I multiply them together, one of them has to equal 0. So to find the solutions, or to solve this for x, I'm making each of the brackets equal 0, and then if I subtract 4 from both sides, x is going to equal negative 4, because 4 take away 4 is nothing, so it disappears. And then this one, subtract 6 from both sides, x is going to equal negative 6. So my two solutions, x equals negative 4, x equals negative 6. Okay. Now if you look at your brackets, whenever you factorise it in it, you can see that the answer, the solution, is always going to be the inverse of whatever the bracket is. Okay, so a little trick you can do there if you can see that. Okay, so have a go at the next one, see how you get on. Okay, let's see how you got on. Okay, so we're going to have our set of brackets equal to 0. We've got an x in each, so that's taken care of the x squared. 49 is going to be 7 and 7. 1 and 49, they're the only two factors of 49. And we can see if we're adding it together, 7 plus 7 would give me 14. Okay, so plus 7, plus 7. And then if I want to factorise that out, solve it out, okay, take away 7 from both sides, x is going to equal negative 7, and this one would be exactly the same. So this one, slightly different to the last one, in the sense of the last one had two solutions. Okay, we had negative 4 and negative 6. This one's only got one solution, being negative 7. So if you can imagine, if we wanted to plot this, okay, then we could say the last one had negative 4 and negative 6. So my graph would come down, curve round and go back up again. Okay, whereas this one only has one solution, which is negative 7. So my graph comes down, the turning point is at negative 7, and it goes back up again. So again, remember, just these are always going to be U-shaped graphs. Okay, so it would just curve and touch, the x-axis at -7, hence the 1 solution being the same number. Okay. So looking at this second one, okay, you can see the only difference with this one is that we've got a double negative in my solution. So that means that one of the signs is going to be negative. Okay, so let's do our set of brackets again. Coefficient of x squared is 1, so I can put my x terms in the front of the bracket. I'm looking for the factors of -28. So let's ignore the sign for a minute and just look at positive 28. So I would have 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7. Okay, and then hopefully you can see I need -3. It needs to sum or add to -3. Now, the only way I can do that looking at these numbers is, hopefully you're seeing 4 and 7 would be 3 or -3. If I did 7 take away 4 is going to give me 3, minus 7 add 4 is going to give me -3. That's the one I want. So my two values I'm going to use is -7 and +4. So they're going to go into my brackets. Okay. Now if I want to solve that, remember what we did last time, we could do the inverse of whatever's in the bracket. So x is going to equal +7 or x is going to equal -4. And that will be my solutions. Okay. Okay, so have a go at this next one, see how you got on. Pause the video. Okay, let's see how you did. So, x and x, 0, factors of 20, 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. If I want to make +1, I'm going to use 4 and 5, and to make a +1, I'm going to do 5, take away 4, which gives me 1, so +5, -4, and my solutions would be x equals -5 or +4. Okay, so you can see again, same sort of scenario. This time we've got one negative sign and one positive sign. So we know there's got to be some negatives in it somewhere, but my final term is 42 and it's +42. Now the only way I can get a positive in my constant term, let's list the factors for a start. I've got 1 and 42, I've got 2 and 21, okay, I've got 3 and 14, and I've got 6 and 7. Now I want 13 as my answer, my middle term, when I add it together. Okay, -13. Now we can see straight away 6 and 7 is going to give me 13. So 6 plus 7 would equal +13. So if I want -13, -6 take away 7 is going to give me -13. Okay, and that's the one that I want. So my answers, two terms I'm going to use is -6 and -7. So I've got x minus 6, x minus 7 equals 0. And then using our trick that we did earlier, x is going to equal 6 or x is going to equal 7 for my two solutions. Okay, so slightly more difficult in the sense of that we're trying to remember that that rule that a negative multiplied by a negative is going to equal a positive. Okay, but other than that, exactly the same process. So let's look at the next one. Now again, hopefully you're looking at this and thinking, well, the only thing that's different about it is up to now we've always had it in the form of x squared plus something x plus a number. So say it's 121 for instance, the one that's here. Okay, this time we've got a subtract sign there and we've just got an x squared. We haven't got any middle term. So if there is no middle term at all, okay, then more often than not this end term is always going to be a square number. Okay, because we've got to have the same number to be able to cancel the x terms out in the middle. So if we're thinking about 121, well 11 times 11 gives me 121. The only time I can get a negative is if I do a positive multiplied by a negative to give me a negative answer there. So my constant is still finding the factor pair. My middle term is actually 0x. So I've got x squared minus 0x minus 121. That could be plus 0x as well. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, the only way I can get the middle term is if they cancel each other out. So I've got my x squared, okay, and I've got 11. So I've got 11 in each bracket. Now again, one's positive, one's negative, so that when I multiply out I get a negative 121. So my solution for this is x equals 11 or x equals negative 11. Okay, so the negative 11 would come from the first bracket and the positive 11 would come from the second bracket. So x equals 11 or negative 11. Okay. Have a go at that one. See how you get on. Pause the video and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, let's see how you did. I've got my x squareds in there. 144. Well, 12 times 12 is 144. So I've got 12 in the first bracket, 12 in the second bracket. And it makes no difference whether I put the negative in the first bracket or the second bracket. So when I factorise this out and I solve it, okay, factorise it is 8x minus 12. X plus 12, so my solution is going to give me x plus 12 or x equals minus 12. So x equals plus 12 or x equals minus 12, and that would be my solution. Cool. Hope it was useful, and I'll catch you next time.